Death Stalker here. So I thought I'd take you up Wilson Street in Ancaster. Wilson Street actually begins right here at Main Street West where it ends. Now Wilson Street goes right up into the village of Ancaster, and then it continues on towards Brantford. So this actually might be 2 videos, might be 3. It sort of depends on how long it takes and how long the videos are. Now I've been coming up and down this road for probably 30 years, so I know a good chunk of it, but I thought you'd actually like to check it out. Now what we're doing right now is this is the west end of Hamilton right now, and we're heading up the escarpment, which is to my left and in front of me. And the escarpment is about a 100 meter, 150 meter sort of jump in elevation. Now if you notice, there's seems to be a lot of repairs in the road here. Because this is the escarpment, it moves. Even though they, like, I know about 25 years ago they completely rebuilt this road, you can actually see the crack because it's shifted off. In fact, they got rid of the lane a little bit further up ahead. I guess whatever is causing the shifting is moving it faster. Now, straight ahead to the right, as the camera can pick it up, is part of the original part of Wilson Street. It used to come up and cut across, but it was a narrow 2-lane road, and they actually took away a good chunk of the escarpment to make this wider, more usable road. This is like in the rush hour. This is actually bumper to bumper because basically people in Ancaster come down this way to their wherever they work, and on the way back they come back up it. And again, you can see a giant crack right down the middle of the road because this part is moving as well. I'll have to wait and see how bad it gets before they bother to fix it again. Now Ancaster is sort of like the rich area. The houses here are really expensive and really nice and fancy. Drive down the side roads, you can actually see some pretty cool places. This is sort of the old village here, so it's, you know, a lot of older homes. Further up we get, and slightly off the main road, you get more newer subdivisions. It's a bit of a steep hill section right here. This is the proper village part here. You can see it's, you know, they had a lot of historic preservation long before it was cool to have historic preservation. So you'll see a lot of, you know, old stone buildings still here, clapboard buildings, and you'll see that the new buildings like this one right here is made to look like it was built around the same time. Like even the little strip mall like they have here. It's a strip mall, but it doesn't look like your typical glass and plastic strip mall. It's kind of a cool little place. Churches. There's a real estate agent office that's actually new, but you know, it looks like it just fits in perfect. If you're wondering what the houses sell for in this area, probably going to say the vast majority of them are in or around $1 million Canadian, so that's like 57 cents American. But even Starbucks had to make their place look like it was old. Sort of like the end of the old village, and now you're getting to what's more of a you know, I'm going to say this was probably the 50s 60s expansion area. I'm talking 1950s 1960s. Now of course some of the infill is going to be like new, you know, it'll be like stuff built in the last 5-10 years, but I'm seeing a lot of townhouses come in, or condos. And a lot of that simply is because the single-family homes are so expensive that you know, first-time buyers really can't afford them. Plus, as people get older, they don't want to take care of the 4,000 or 5,000 square foot homes. You know, so they'll get themselves a 2,000 square foot, you know, condo where basically all they're responsible for is keeping the inside of the place clean. The condo association takes care of the outside. Now you're into like, this is the typical, you know, 60s, 70s, 80s, like even up to like 2000 strip mall sort of thing you see. Again, a lot of these condos that you're seeing are now, that's fairly new, but they don't necessarily look like the old places. Some of these, like these, any actual old house you see in this area is would have been like farm property. I guess this all would have been farmland. So over time, the farm would have been bought and then divvied up into little parcels of land where they would have built little subdivisions, or 4 or 5 houses, or in some cases hundreds of houses. And looks like they're planning on doing some more work here. The pressure treated wood fences that you see over here on this one side, that's going to be something built in the 1990s. That's when that type of fencing was really popular, and you know, wasn't expensive, but even when it was put in, a friend of mine had a house with a pressure treated fence, and we went like, oh, this stuff is crap, and oh, there's absolutely no question about it. You're seeing this stuff is it's falling down all over the place, and it's funny that the fences that were really pricey, like the, you know, the steel fences that look like wrought iron, are now coming back into vogue, because first off, they last like 60-70 years. As long as you keep them up. Pressure treated fences, don't matter how long you have them, they don't last. Now this right here is the 403, which is the main highway, and this is still part of Wilson Street. Well, that was the world's longest light. It's actually pretty hot here today. Now, technically, this here would have been the end of Wilson Street, but what happens is, if you want to, so what happens is that when streets are no longer considered to be a highway, so they can actually have a lower speed limit, because the speed limit is 80 kilometers an hour or 50. So to have a lower speed limit, it actually has to have a name on it. It can't be Highway 27, you know, and have different speed limits unless it's controlled by the province. So what they did was all they do is continue the name of Wilson Street. So this technically would have been Highway 2. Like when I was young, this was Highway 2. Okay, because the 403 did not exist at the time. This was the main road that took you to Brantford. And you see, this is where all the, you know, in the last 15 years is where all the big box stores have come in. And it's actually still being built. But this actually would have been all Highway 2. And technically, if you do look it up, it actually will show as Highway 2. But here it's called, it's called Wilson Street, so that way they can have the municipality can set the speed limits. If it's left as a highway, it's the province that sets the speed limits. So it's just kind of a weird thing. Like you'll see you know, Highway 8 is Highway 8 until it actually gets into the city limits, and it becomes King Street or Main Street, depending on what the municipality is. And then they can set the speed limits. Oh, some old classic cars here. Old Beetle. So this is the Ancaster Business Park. This is where a lot of businesses, you know, they actually moved from the locations that were, the taxes were too high and land was cheap out here. And at the time this business park was built, there was nothing out here, but now everything's growing up to where it is. Nice thing about this particular road is the fact that the 403 runs parallel to it, is that it doesn't have as much traffic. So it's you know, it's got a lower speed limit, like it's up to 80 now, and it will go up and down a bit through certain areas, but essentially it's 80, where just over where that far tree line is over there is where the 403 is. In fact, you'll be able to see it from spot to spot. But this highway here runs right into Brantford, and it goes through Brantford, and then it goes all the way to basically where the 401 is. And before the 403 was built, this was the road to get to the 401 from this area. This was the way to do it. And I remember as a kid, like I'm talking like a really young kid, like 5 or 6 years old, driving down this road on the way to visit relatives in London, Ontario.